Hi and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with...
Dan, Chris.
And Lee.
And have we recovered from that race yet?
It's all right, wasn't it?
Hey, we're back.
I liked it. Lee said it was the best race since Canada 2011.
I was probably exaggerating.
I think that's because Jenson Button was back on our TVs.
Oh, you mean the race?
Yeah.
Right, yeah, okay. But it was good.
Do we want to do a review of Jensen's presenting skills?
I think he was very good.
He was all right when he spotted the dude from bottom, Adrian Edmondson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were sat there saying, have they just not noticed that they've completely blanked him?
How you could miss him in that shirt, I've got no idea.
Well, it wasn't quite Kai Abel levels, was it?
Then again, I suppose, everybody in the paddock is usually blinded by Kai Abel's trousers.
Yes.
Oh, we've got that to look forward to in 2 weeks' time.
Just quickly before we move on with this, I'd also like to point out that I was fucking right about Valsecchi. Like, the guy can't speak. When I was watching the GP2,
Can't speak.
F2. No, he can't. He can't form.
No, he can't speak, he just shouts.
Yeah, but he can't form coherent sentences. It's like taking a Eddie Jordan, sticking him in like the fly machine. So you bring him back to till he was about 25, and then you put him back in the fly machine with a mountain of cocaine, and then smash the two together.
I like Davide Valsecchi's enthusiasm.
Yeah.
I do.
Well, no, I like enthusiasm as well, but I like sense too. I like to be able to understand it. It's like Tasmania.
No, invasion time.
It's like Tasmania is a commentator.
You mean the Tasmanian devil, not the whole island?
Well, I mean, you can either have the
It would get a bit noisy if the whole of Tasmania was commentating.
Yeah, and
Twitch comments on F1.
and still make more sense than Valsecchi.
Yeah, Taz, the Tasmanian devil.
No, the whole country speaking at once about different things.
Now, if I had the option, I would have Valsecchi commentating on F1. I would allow you not to have him, but...
I hope it would be a red button option.
That's how
No,
Crofty started.
you just want the button option.
Fuck.
Anyway,
If
let's
I had
move
the
on.
option, I'd have Valsecchi commentating from underneath a steamroller.
Let's
I still listen to
move
him?
on.
I'd listen to that
Oh,
broadcast.
come on, guys.
Let's move on.
Are we moving on?
Yes.
So we had a 12-lap sprint race.
At the end of 40 laps.
After a
of-
40-lap qualifier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Formula Lee from Lee, like Lee fixes Formula One type of thing, there is now a safety car 15 laps before the end of every race.
Do you want to know something really bad?
Yeah.
NASCAR's been doing that for the last couple of years.
Does it?
Yeah.
For reals?
For reals. They split the race up in 3 or 4 sections depending on the length.
This, yeah.
Because I was watching the Daytona 500 because it was on a free-to-air channel. And
Because you love NASCAR.
I was on drugs.
Okay.
Drugged responsibly. I was watching the Daytona 500 and the commentators were going on about, and we're coming up to the end of the first section and they're through the line at the end of the first section and the yellow flags are out. I was like, well, who's crashed? No one. Looked up the rules, like, what? They have 3 or 4 races in one and a yellow flag period in between each. And
So do they get
some
points?
points.
Oh, right. It's interesting.
So it's like the intermediate sprints in cycling.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of how it works, yeah. Very odd.
But if you win all the intermediate sprints, then you get the yellow jersey
I was just going to say, though, when
without winning the main
Yeah.
sprint.
it gets real when they start putting the jersey on, though. That's the trickiest part of the race.
Yeah, you got to get it over the hands device. Plus, most NASCAR drivers can't dress themselves anyway. So the British Grand Prix,
Sorry, the yellow tank top.
yellow wife beater. So, what did we all think to it in the end then?
It was a good race.
I thought it was one of the best races this year.
I think it was the best race this year.
I don't think it was the best race this year. I think China still stands out to me as the best
No,
race this year.
I think it was the best race this year. Just because it, like you say, there was 4 cars at the end there which could have won the race. Or they could have all crashed into each other and Red Bull might have done it.
Yeah.
Sorry, was somebody expecting me to say something then?
Well, somebody was expecting somebody to say
Somebody
something.
could say something. would be nice.
Everyone was looking at somebody else and nobody
Should
was
we
actually
start
saying
from the
anything.
back then and go forward with what happened with which team during the race?
Yeah, well, we've got a double DNF for Sauber first, Leclerc in 19th, and Ericsson.
Unfortunate for...
Unfortunate for Leclerc,
Yeah.
shit for Ericsson.
I did exactly the same accident as Marcus Ericsson on the PlayStation on F1 2017 when I was playing at Silverstone. I did a race and I did exactly the same thing as Ericsson did.
And yet the DRS button on a steering wheel is bigger than the one on a PlayStation controller, so there's less of an excuse for Ericsson.
Did anyone see the tweet Renault put up about who was it? Carlos Sainz and
Grosjean.
hit each other, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And Renault put the put a thing up saying so both Carlos blames Grosjean and Roman blames Carlos. I think we can all agree this was Ericsson's fault.
I've got to say, Renault have they have upped the Twitter game this year from a previous high.
Yeah, weirdly, it was Ericsson's fault because Ericsson's crash caused the safety car, which then caused the restart, which then caused the accident, which caused the second safety car. So it actually was Ericsson's fault.
Was Ericsson's crash Ericsson's fault, though?
Yes.
Yeah, he got too high on the curb, didn't he, on entry?
I thought he turned in with the DRS still open.
Yeah, he's actually come out and said, I thought I'd disengage the DRS to engage it again once I'd got through the first turn, because you're still able to do that.
Yeah.
He missed the button.
Ah.
Well, because
So-
it's I take it's flat, is it that?
Yeah. Which coincidentally is the same crash that Grosjean had.
Yeah, which is not exactly what he did on the PlayStation then. Because
Yeah.
it looked very similar.
Yeah, but no, this was... no, Ericsson just didn't disengage the DRS when he thought he'd done it, so he kept his foot flat to the floor, and bye-bye back end.
Yeah.
But that woke him up.
Glad he walked away from it.
Yeah, I mean,
It looked nasty.
but it was because of the tire arrangement. I thought he'd gone deep into those barriers, but it was because the tires were actually 2 tires deeper, right where he crashed. So he wasn't actually that far in the barrier at all. So he escaped injury.
If you look on the
same with Grosjean though, escaping injury, quite lucky.
yeah, if you actually look on our website, I put a gallery up today. A few listeners have sent us photos in, and there's actually a photo of what's left of Ericsson's car being put onto the flatbed.
Oh, nice.
So I've got 3 legs 4 wheels, and have a look at the 3legs4wheels.com. Have a look at the gallery section, and I think I will even be able to say who sent that photo in.
Because also,
I love seeing wildlife in its natural state.
Because I'm quick like that was Ryan Kenner.
Thank you, Ryan.
thank you, Ryan.
So
Also, Brendan Hartley had a pretty bad accident, didn't he, in FP3? That was terrifying.
that was. We'll get to Toro Rosso in a minute, but Charles Leclerc going well, looking like points were on the table again, and
Looking like points from the table for both Saubers, actually, until they retired.
yeah, I don't know Ericsson, maybe not. But Charles Leclerc going great, and more wheel gun woes.
Yeah, strange that none of the team sort of noticed as he left the garage that something might not have, gone on properly, or
Normally the team notice straight away, don't
usually
they?
you see, they stand up and make that X Factor sign with their arms, don't they?
Yeah.
They say, no, that wasn't good. There's like a...
I thought it was more like D-Generation X in the era of censorship. It's not the crotch chop, it's the cross over your head.
Yeah, the glow sticks are a bit far.
Yeah,
So the...
that was the rave era.
it wasn't until Charles Leclerc got to the end of the pit lane when he went to sort of, give it some power that his wheels spun up behind him. He thought, that's not right. Tried it again, straight on the radio. Yeah, something's not right here, guys. Oh, right, okay, there's not a wheel on properly. Stop the car then, yeah. Just pull over and stop. And all props to Charles Leclerc. He didn't pull over in a dangerous place. The first station he got to, he pulled over and he was well out of the way. But disappointing.
Sure, he didn't. There was a Ferrari in the lead.
Yeah. I think at that point Bottas was leading.
Oh, was he?
I think so, yeah. But he, as Paul said, could have scored points.
Yeah, I mean, Sauber have improved so much now with all the Ferrari backing and a real engine. And it's great to see him back. Sorry.
Easy for you to say. Oh no, it's happening. I knew one of us would die in here.
Yeah.
It is great to see Sauber back in point scoring positions.
Thank you.
From making their way back up the field, clawing their way back up. Somebody's got to be last. And that's happening to me now. Somebody's got to be last, and for the last couple of years it's been Sauber due to their pretty poor performance. But I don't ever like to see a team just languishing at the back all the time.
No.
Minardi were great because, they were the back markers.
But occasionally they could score
yeah.
points, And when points were down to sixth.
And it's quite exciting as well when that when something like that happens.
Yeah, you can sort of...
It's a good indication too of like who's there.
You can sort yourself out. And
Don't wake my baby up.
Paul's gone outside to cough. He's going to wake Arthur up, isn't he?
I'd rather him coughing here.
Oh.
Sorry, I just went outside to die.
Yeah, it's okay. I'd rather you die in here. There's a baby up there. No. It's a good measure of like where a driver is too, isn't it? You know, when you get an Alonso or a Webber, I say continuously when I talk about Bernardi, that go and score a point in it.
Yeah.
It's a good sign of of where these guys are.
Yeah, I mean,
But when you've got like where Williams are and they just can't fight,
exactly.
there's no point.
No.
No, I mean, their biggest fight is with the car anyway.
Yeah. So it's good to see that Sauber aren't the team languishing at the back, although this weekend double DNF does mean that they're first on our list.
Toro Rosso up next. Hartley classified as a DNF.
Yeah, well...
Closer to a DNS, really.
His car didn't start the race, did it? He came out at the beginning of lap 2?
I think it was at the start of lap 2, did an installation lap, and then they just pulled him back into the pits.
Yeah. So that they can say they entered the race.
Yeah.
They made an effort.
So I didn't even notice. I didn't even notice that he never...
Well, neither did the timing screens because he was getting sector times up while it was still saying he was in the pits.
Which was confusing.
Which was very confusing, especially when you saw him in the pits while the sector times were still showing and they were putting the car on the dollars and rolling it back into the garage. I mean, that was a terrifying crash.
It was not his fault either. Just want to point that out. Hartley's had a run of bad luck, and it did continue with his suspension failure. Right at the point where Hartley decided he was just going to start braking at the end of that long Wellington straight, the front suspension gave way, which completely turned the car around. No control. I don't know if anybody's seen the accident in really like super slow mo, but before the car starts turning around, he takes his hands off the steering wheel. His reaction time is ridiculously quick. He knows he's having an accident and has his hands off the wheel about a quarter of a second after the suspension snaps. He just knew that it was going to happen. Great reaction times, and something that was picked up at the time but kind of missed on replay. I thought we would see a replay of it, especially on Sunday. Was that Sebastian Vettel was the car following Brendan Hartley, and it almost looked like he was going to do an Ayrton Senna and stop out on track and get out and run across to help him, because from Vettel's on board you could see it was a huge accident. And straight away he came on the team radio. Is he okay? Let me know he's okay. But he slowed. As he goes around the corner, he slows right down and is looking over at Brendan Hartley's car to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And I actually think if Ferrari hadn't got back to him pretty quickly with, yeah, he's okay, he would have stopped the car and got out. I'm wondering if that's how Sebastian Vettel hurt his neck, craning round to see if Brendan Hartley was okay.
Well, it was in the same session that he injured the neck in.
It was at that time because the red flags came out when Hartley crashed, and Vettel did not re-emerge after the red flag. So I think Vettel hurt his neck craning to see if Hartley was okay.
Wow.
You might be onto something there.
Yeah.
It would explain why he was so like. He brushed it off, didn't he? Whenever he was asked, it was somewhere, it was something.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, your favourite husband, Jensen Button, did say that, you're so tense driving a car around high-speed corners that if you hit like a bump when you're not expecting to, your back's thrown out instantly. Yeah. But as a driver, after you go through your early single-seaters, you just kind of get used to it a little bit. So it would have to be a fair old muscle cramp or something to really stop him from going out for the rest of that session. But that's for Ferrari speak.
The other side of the garage, Pierre Gasly, obviously they had to rebuild his car before qualifying because them and I do believe the FIA wanted checks on the Toro Rosso suspension.
Yeah, which is fair enough.
Yeah. 10th across the line, however, the penalty put him back to 13th.
It did.
Was it a harsh penalty? Was it a racing incident?
I think it was. I don't know, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think the penalty is harsh for Gasly.
I mean, he says it was ridiculous, but then again, he would. He's just been
Yeah.
demoted from 10th to 13th place. I don't know. It's one of those.
Although not a terrible performance at a high power circuit from a Honda engine. That's worth pointing out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
not
is
awful.
actually. Yeah, I mean, a Honda being fast enough to get around Silverstone in 10th place.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have said that last year.
No. Or
I
the year
think-
before.
Or the year
I
before
think that we might end up getting shocked next year once that's strapped to a Red Bull.
Well, Red Bull have already said, haven't they, they're going to develop alongside Honda rather than sort of that you build the power unit, we'll tell you how we want it, which is very
Yeah,
much
they're going to say
the other team's
they're going to
approach.
say that, but
I don't want it to become another team
they're
podcast.
No, they're going to say that, but as soon as they get a Duff engine, they're going to drag it across the
Oh, probably.
broken glass, aren't they?
So disappointing weekend for Toro Rosso, but hopefully they'll bounce back in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, the other thing we missed is actually Gasly got 2 penalty points for it as well.
Oh, did he? I
Yeah.
didn't see that.
And he was also complaining that he was hit by Van Dorn on lap 1 and there was no action taken. Missed that completely as
No,
well.
I know Van Dorn tangled with someone because that's why he was last. And
You had a terrible start.
yeah, but I think he hit him on the start.
Right.
Into turn 1, I think, and he suffered a lot of damage on the car. That's because he was like well last for most of the race, wasn't he? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
So,
Yeah, it was, yeah.
The
him
Williamses.
and then the Williamses, which we've got next. That car is...
Fit for the bin.
Yeah, you can't even blame the drivers now.
No.
We don't even... I'm going to give up slagging off Stroll and Sirotkin.
I agree because tell you what, when that car hasn't looked like a fucking death trap a couple of times, Stroll hasn't looked bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's the second coming of Mika Hakkinen,
Exactly, yeah.
but he hasn't looked
That was
bad.
meant to be Kimi, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you could stick peak Mika Hakkinen in that Williams right now. I'm
The
talking
actual Mika Hakkinen.
Yeah, I'm talking like 99 era Mika Hakkinen, that like in that car, and he wouldn't be able to do any better, I don't
No.
think, than the two drivers who are in there at the moment. All right, they do have a problem with a lack of experience, but that's not the problem behind the wheel. This car, whatever issues it's got, you know, when we had Scarbs on a few weeks ago, he was saying about the aerodynamic stalling. That's proving to it's going to be so costly for Williams in more ways than, you know, not just on track, off track with sponsors. You know, the driver, it leaves them out of favor in the driver market. They're in a really poor position going into these next couple of years.
So what can they do?
Start again. Again.
The thing that every team hates to do in F1, which is write this year off. Try and find out what's caused the problems and make sure that they don't happen on next year's
that
car.
has to have already happened with that car. Has to.
The problem is, though, they don't know what they can do to counter the problems on next year's car because we don't know what next year's aero regs are.
Well, yeah.
So it's leaving Williams in a worse position than it would in any other season, because like, oh right, okay, we'll start developing next year's car. There might be something we can find in next year's car development that's going to happen to this.
I suppose they can do stuff with CFD and stuff, you know, and going from
But that's their problem.
but going from what they think the regulations are, you know, and what's been proposed.
But the problem is you can go on what you think the regulations are. Then if you've got it wrong, you're still only allowed a maximum amount of aero or CFD
R&D,
development time.
Yeah.
And if you've sunk all your time and I think it's a limit on wind tunnel time and CFD processor cycles. And if you sunk it all into what you think the
That's a
regulations
flop, innit?
oh,
Hey.
you'll be making football jokes next.
The thing is, Williams' problem lies in the fact that their computers and all their data does not correlate with what the car does on track. The computers and all the models and all the data they got from it beforehand say this car should behave like this, and on track, the car does not behave like that.
Is it a problem with their manufacturing process? And when they're actually making the components, because a lot of Williams stuff is made in-house, is there an error creeping in somewhere between the design and the actual output?
But let's not forget though that this isn't a new thing. McLaren have had issues, like correlation issues. Red Bull had correlation issues not so long ago.
Mercedes had correlation issues.
Ferrari, 3 or 4 years ago, I think, said they had correlation issues.
The entire last 3 years of Honda?
Yeah, so, well,
No, the last 3 years of Honda as a team. Not Honda as an engine supplier.
Oh, right, okay.
The last 3 years before they became Braun.
yeah.
Earth dreams.
I remember you telling me there was 1 year. I think it was the first Earth Dreams car, where a lot of the dimensions of what was needed had been done in Imperial when they needed to be in metric, and they got the conversion wrong.
Jeez.
I'm sure it was you that told me.
Probably was. It was probably me. I've just forgotten. I said it. It sounds like something I'd have known.
Because it was Jensen driving the car.
Because it was Jensen driving the car, yeah.
It sounds unlikely because the only place that uses Imperial now really is the United States.
But there was some major screw up between dimensions being converted.
Oops.
But
Do you not remember the 16-foot Formula One car?
Funnily enough, Lee,
No, they parked it in front of Stonehenge.
with the 5 centimetre wheels. It was in danger of being crushed by a dwarf. See who gets that one. But yeah, if Williams are having correlation problems, then no one seems to know how to fix those within the course of a season.
no.
I fear for the future of them.
I think everyone does.
They are a public company. There are shareholders that could bail out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Coming with an upgraded rear wing that they then have to get rid of between FP3 and qualifying. Sorry, between qualifying and the race. Because it doesn't work like it should. It's like, how the hell can something be so bad? DRS killing the car.
Is it? I'm just thinking out loud here. Is it being so bad, or is it the way that Williams operated before Paddy Lowe joined kind of worked for them, even if it wasn't perfect? But now that Paddy Lowe is part of the team, he's like, that's not perfect. It's coming off.
I know. I think they crumbled when Pat Simmons left. Pat Simmons was the last, what I'd have thought of that would have been sort of that team leader that would have galvanized a team together. Now you have essentially a figurehead in Claire Williams that's there, so the Williams name has an anchor point inside the garage. Paddy Lowe, who's had success everywhere else but doesn't come across as he doesn't come across as the team leader in the same way as...
He's kind of the opposite of Patrick Head.
Yeah, but in the same way as that Adrian Newey is a fucking genius designer, I don't think he could run a Formula One team. Do you know what I mean? And people take the piss out of Smedley, but I think he was brought into Williams to
fire people up.
Yeah, but I think they expected more of him than just being like the strategy guy. But he was a pit wall strategy guy. He wasn't a team principal, and that seemed to be what they had him groomed for. So it's kind of like buying a defender and sticking him up front. Football reference.
He's doing all right, isn't he?
Who the fuck are you, and what have you done with Lee?
So yeah, I think that's what I think they're missing. I think they're missing like that, for want of better words.
It'll say
key
something
man.
credible about bass playing technique next.
They're missing their
There
talent.
isn't anything. Is there?
Up yours. Hit boy.
I think I am a hit
Somewhere.
somewhere with some community.
Shall we move on before we make Williams the next McLaren?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we probably should. Renault. Hulk in between his two usual positions.
5th and 7th, which puts him 6th.
And Sainz,
An unfortunate... Well, he got a poor start.
it was Ericsson's fault.
Well, apparently so, yeah, as we've already discussed. But he got a poor start anyway.
He did not.
Oh, no, he got the good start.
Yeah.
Sorry, the other way around. I was thinking of...
No,
some-
both the Renaults got
Yeah.
surprisingly good
Yeah,
starts, considering
sorry.
they were on harder tyres than
I'm
anyone
getting
else.
confused with somebody else who had an incredibly poor start. No,
Lewis
Sainz...
Hamilton.
Yes, Lewis Hamilton had a very poor start. No, Sainz was one of the drivers who did have a very good start. Went from 16th to 9th at the end of the first lap, and was looking good for holding out for points as well as Hulk. Unfortunately, Grosjean happened. I don't believe. I think I put on the blog just before.
No, in the words of Gunter Steiner, I don't believe it.
Yeah. I think I put on the blog, hopefully it was just before they spoke about it on TV, because as I said, I was doing the blog from home yesterday, not feeling great, still not 100% today. But I know. Feel sorry for me, listeners, and continue.
Feeling sorry for
It
him.
looked, as soon as I saw it happen, I was like, Grosjean lost traction of his car there and slid into Sainz.
Yeah, I think Sainz didn't leave Grosjean any room to make a mistake.
And Grosjean made a
And
mistake.
Grosjean made a mistake.
Yeah, Grosjean made it. But it looked like it didn't necessarily look like it was driver error. It was just
Loss of traction,
Loss of
dirty air,
yeah,
there's less downforce than there would be
because
normally.
they were following cars after that safety
Yeah.
car
I think
period.
Sky
so-
said it best at the time. He understeered into him.
Yeah, but he sort of tried to correct it, and as he corrected it, he just slammed straight into Sainz.
Well,
There
he
was
tried-
no scope to correct.
He,
No
he,
scope
tried,
to
he
catch
tried
it.
to correct the slide and then oversteered.
Yeah,
But
straight into him.
The only thing I'd say about that incident is, it was almost lucky for Sainz that Grosjean locked up, because if he hadn't locked up, I think he'd have still gone into the side of Sainz, because he hadn't given him any room to. There was no room for him.
No.
I think the room was there for the car to take a perfect line round the corner.
Yeah,
But the
But there
aerodynamics was not.
There wasn't room for anything other than that to happen.
Even that, I think the angle Sainz was at, that looked like it would have been a crash no matter what happened.
And Sainz was very lucky, as soon as we were talking
Yeah,
about
that could have been an awful
He
crash.
could have gone upside down,
Yeah.
especially as soon as he hit the gravel. If those wheels had dug in a little bit in the old gravel, he'd have been on his roof. But if those wheels had just dug in at the wrong angle slightly, for the way he hit the gravel, he'd have been rolling that Renault.
Well,
into
we
the
need to
barriers.
test the halo.
Yeah. Well, so far, in accidents like we spoke about Brendan Hartley's before, the day
Yeah.
we came up, it hit the halo and dispersed.
Bounced off, yeah.
Halo won, everyone else shut
No,
up.
yeah.
Anyone actually specifically noticing the halo during the race now?
I think the cars
No.
look quite good.
No, not even that bothered by it. We
I
said
think
this at the beginning
the
of
only
the
time
year.
I notice it is, I think, Haas, is it? Have a little bit of aero around the top of it.
I think most teams have got it now, but that's how little attention we're
Yeah.
paying to the halo that we're not even noticing aero
They
devices
use
on
it on a graphic that we don't even pay attention to anymore.
Yeah, it's
you know.
just a circular graphic that MotoGP are ripping off.
Well, there you go. So it works brilliantly for Formula One, and anybody who's not watching Formula One because of the halo, we don't miss you.
To be honest, if they're not watching Formula One because of the halo, they're probably not listening to this podcast anyway. So
Yeah, probably.
At least we can take a mature stand on this.
Can I just say?
as always,
Can I just say, Beggsy, not that microphone next week?
No.
I'll take the phone with me and I'll get it dry cleaned. Who's next? McLaren. Alonso in 8th, Van Dorn in
Not.
11th.
Well, Van Dorn 11th because Gasly got put
Because
behind
Gasly.
him.
12th across the line.
Yeah, he's struggling. Van Dorn said he was struggling with setup all through
Yeah, he said
Friday.
the car was undrivable, didn't he?
Yeah, and on Saturday practice, I think it was, he was one of the drivers who was looking all right to put in an okay time when Hartley decided he was going to hit the barriers.
Yeah.
So he missed out on some running, but it was a difficult weekend for Van Dorn. It's not the first time he said that.
No.
His ability to adapt and learn from his teammate may be lagging behind a little.
Yeah, he must be a man under pressure. You know, we always talk about Grosjean as being a guy under pressure. He must be under so much pressure at the minute.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
The only reason we don't think about it is
Put a
because
piece of coal between his arse cheeks in 2 weeks, you'd have a diamond.
But we only don't mention the pressure he must be under because McLaren's in that position it's in. If they were up there doing it and Alonso was doing more than he was doing, there'd be more pressure, like visible pressure on him.
I mean, what you can see with McLaren is that Van Dorn has never outqualified Alonso.
Well, he has a couple of times, but only by like a quarter.
I
don't
Not
think
this-
he's
not this year.
outraced him, has he?
Van Dorn hasn't outqualified Alonso this season.
This season.
To clear it up.
I don't think he's outqualified him. Hasn't he only outqualified Alonso
Once.
when Alonso's had problems in qualifying?
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, I think there has to.
I think it's
be
happened
a
once.
technical fault on the car.
You can say shenanigans.
Yeah,
He doesn't look like he's ever going to put in that Barrichello against Schumacher drive where, oh yeah, there is something there. He's
No.
beating one of the best in the world.
No.
Yeah.
It's crazy though, isn't it? When you consider he ripped up F2.
Yeah.
He or
Super
GP2,
Formula.
Super Form. Well, we're saying that though, because I remember when we kept a bit of an eye on Super Formula
Because of
didn't we?
Stoffel, yeah.
Because of Stoffel, and he wasn't the Stoffel in Super Formula he was in F2.
No, but I think he was still in with a shout at the championship until the second to last round.
Yeah, I think Sean Kelly's had it on the fucking nail now, because you've got. I bet if he was in F2 now, I bet he wouldn't have done in what he did in GP2. Back in the
He had a
day.
fortunate year in F2. Yeah.
And like Sean
years.
said, that you get drivers that as soon as they get into a fast car, they kind of hit their talent wall.
Yeah.
And he seems to have found that. I'm sure he's obviously an incredible racing driver. And
Future
I'm sure,
Formula E champion.
future Formula E champion. Future,
That's not an insult.
No.
It's-
No. But
future
yeah.
world endurance champion.
Yeah.
Something like that. But it's future Formula One world champion.
Doesn't look like it.
Gonna have to
No,
wait
not
for
at the
another
moment.
Belgique, I think.
No, I mean it could be one of those situations where he sort of Peter Principled himself out of contention for an F1 title,
Possibly.
promoted one step past his ability.
Yeah, maybe.
He's got talent, undeniably, certainly compared to all of us.
It's just, it really, I don't want to talk silly season or go on about McLaren too much, but it just depends who is in McLaren next year, and if Stoffel's there, who his teammate is.
Stoffel's not there. I think if it's we'll move on, but it'll be somebody in Lando.
Well, I mean, this gives us an opportunity to talk about something that happened after last week's podcast with the whole McLaren restructuring.
Yes,
because this time
we
last
haven't-
week when we were
yeah,
sat
yeah.
around this table, Eric Boulier was still in charge and telling everyone that he wasn't going anywhere. 36 hours later, he went.
Did you see the interview?
Although
With Zach Brown.
he actually resigned
No, with
on
Boulier.
Tuesday.
Yeah, he resigned on
Yeah, he
Tuesday, but
resigned
we
on
heard about it
Tuesday,
on
Eric,
Wednesday.
But we'd like to thank McLaren for not releasing the news until Wednesday, so it didn't make us feel really bad about
Right.
it.
But did you see the press conference with him?
The press conference with Boulier.
I have only ever been that wet in a shower.
Sweaty.
Yeah.
From the Paul Ricard press
Yeah,
I
conference.
wondered where that
You
was
could
going for a
see
minute.
every chocolate eclair dribbling down his forehead.
Clearly had too many pastries that day.
Oh yeah, I mean that press conference, and apparently this was a French journalist that's been on his case for the last few months.
It was a Daily Mail, wasn't it, journalist, I think?
I don't know. I saw the clip where it was one of the French journalists asking him something, but very pointedly in English, which is unusual for a French journalist to ask a Frenchman
Yeah.
a question not in French. But
Getting a bit Inglorious Bastards, really, isn't it?
which I've still not seen.
It couldn't have been the Daily Mail, because the Daily Mail would have said, being a Frenchman that deals with fast cars, how do you feel about the death of Diana?
Oh, no, that would have been in the
No,
Express.
that's the Express. Yeah. The Daily Mail would have been, "You're a foreigner. We'll talk to somebody else." But yeah, he did come across as, I don't know, dead man walking.
A little.
I wonder where he'll go.
And did you see Ted Kravitz asking Zach Brown on Sky, did Eric push? Or did Eric jump or was he pushed?
Yeah.
And Zach Brown's response, Eric resigned.
Yeah.
Like no sort of
I-
no sort of. You try and quell that situation down a little, wouldn't you? Somebody asks you a pointed question like that, you can, well, it's a difficult situation, I understand. But,
I
you know,
think there are
Eric
agreements. There are agreements probably in place for what can and can't be said. Some kind of ex-NDA.
But
probably.
Anyone see what I did there?
But it
did.
seems to be a bit of a house of cards, doesn't it, McLaren? Because like when you're watching that documentary about them, you know, the one that was on Amazon,
Yeah.
you really got the feeling that it was Zach, Eric, and who's your man, the businessy guy who turns up now and again, balding.
Mansur OJ.
No, English.
Jonathan Neal.
Yes. You get the feeling that between the three of them, they almost like caused a bit of a coup in McLaren to get rid of Ron.
Yeah.
So if Eric was part of the crew to de-Ron Ron, then it seems a bit odd now that Eric's been de-Ron Ron.
But
Does Zach keep his friends close and his enemies closer?
I don't know, but I tell you what this means is because like Jonathan Neal's going nowhere because he's so embedded in the financial side of McLaren. Do you know what I mean? In
Yeah.
the business side
Yeah.
of it.
Jonathan Neal is now the longest serving high up in
Yeah,
McLaren.
he
that
is going nowhere.
hasn't sunk millions into the team.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's worth pointing
Zach's
out.
next on the block.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, but it's worth pointing out who McLaren have given roles to in order to compensate for Eric Boulier's departure.
Yes,
yeah,
it is.
Alonso's race engineer and Gilles de Ferran.
Didn't he
Is that
advise Alonso for Indy as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Is that Andrea Stella, is it?
Andrea Stella, who
Yeah.
came to the team with Fernando. But I mean, Gilles de Ferran, two-time IndyCar champion, former sporting director at Honda in their last days as a team,
Yeah.
pre-Braun. Didn't do great there.
Might have done a really good job, but difficult to
Yeah,
tell.
you
Father
don't
of
know.
Stoffel Van Dorn's girlfriend,
Who is?
Gilles de Ferran.
I'm not convinced that shows he's going to be good or bad at his job.
Also,
But it might just keep Stoffel in the mix.
I don't think that'd be his choice.
If he's sporting director, he could be the one that makes the sporting decisions.
So fuck off. If McLaren is anything, it's a committee. But,
Well, that's what they've said is their problem. It's the what was it they called it? Matrix management, which is what they were trying to get rid of when they had the last management restructure, some 3 or 4 weeks ago, when everyone got defined roles and
well, that was a
Boullier-
while ago now, but
Well,
yeah.
no, but it was only a couple of months back.
Yeah, a few months, yeah.
So they've redefined everybody's roles, and it was when they got rid of Tim Goss.
Yeah.
And now one of the people that's had their role redefined has been booted out, and they brought
Had
some
it redefined.
yeah, and they brought somebody in to replace him in a slightly different role. This is it's bad office sitcom territory.
who knows?
Well, it's not, because I'm quite looking forward to seeing if Gilles de Ferran does the media side of things, if Andrea Stella stays and does the...
I think you'll have to.
Yeah.
Just,
I'd be quite interested to hear that, to be honest with you.
I think you'll find both of them will get a bit of camera time to introduce them to the public.
Quite possibly.
Anyway, we've talked about McLaren quite a lot
We
Yeah.
have.
over the past 4 years.
Yeah,
But
Do you know
that's
what?
genuine McLaren news.
It is,
though.
yeah.
It
So
is.
let's move on
it
to...
is. It's genuine news and it's genuine soap opera.
It is just a full-on soap opera, isn't it?
It
The
is.
whole team is
Yeah.
a soap opera.
They should have just carried on that documentary.
Yeah.
I want to see the bits that they weren't allowed to show.
It's D6 of McLaren.
Force India. Perez ended up 10th,
Thanks to Gasly.
thanks to Gasly, and Ocon in 7th.
Not bad considering that Perez was behind Hamilton at the end of the first lap.
Yeah, Perez was dead last at the end of
And
the
at
first
the end
lap.
of the first turn, Perez was nearly in a Williams.
Yeah. They may have released a Williams a little bit too early from the from the pit lane.
No, I think they were released at the right time. It's
released at
just
the right
that they
time.
weren't expecting cars to go sideways and backwards across them.
No, Button said it was, so it's obviously right.
You're supposed to let all the cars go through turn 1.
Turn 2. He
Turn
said
two,
he
is
said
it?
it was strange that they were let out of the pit lane
right.
before everyone had cleared turn 2.
It appears that they were let out of the pit lane when the lights went out.
That's called a start.
Yeah.
I didn't actually realise that starting from the pit lane meant you started after everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You've got to wait until everything's gone past.
Because the pit lane doesn't have, the pit lane closes. Is it 3 minutes before the beginning of the race or 5 minutes before the beginning of the race?
20.
It closes 20 minutes before the beginning of the race, is it?
Yeah,
Is it-
and
'cause
any car that's still in the pit lane, 20 minutes before lights out, might even be longer.
has to start
Has
from
to
the pit.
start from the pit lane.
Do you think someone felt sorry for Williams and there was a guy with a button going, go on, let them go, scamps?
They're not going to catch anyone up anyway.
So you have to start from, but the pit lane doesn't reopen until after all the cars have left the grid.
But if I remember right, doesn't the medical car and a couple of others also do a lap behind the field? They start off at the same time as everyone else.
No, they peel in after the warm-up lap,
No, they
don't they?
they definitely used to start the race.
They used to. I don't know that they do
Yeah,
anymore.
no, I don't think they do now. I think they pull in after the
Warm-up lap.
After the
Exciting
warm-up
lap.
lap.
Right.
But yeah, the Williams cars were released early, and that came as a shock to Perez seeing them, and it came as a shock to them seeing Perez especially.
Sliding
Because
across
he
the
was
track.
face to face with them.
Yeah, going in the direction that he
Yeah.
was.
But given that Force India struggled in qualifying, I thought it was a good performance from them during the race. They obviously got the strategy right, had good pace throughout the race, managed to claw their way back up. I don't know if they took...
Ocon got points, didn't he?
Yeah, 7th.
I think Perez, if Perez hadn't have had that first corner incident, I think it would have probably been a double point finish.
Yeah, I
for
think
them.
so, yeah. It
Yeah.
was... well, it was.
Well, it was, but
sort of,
you mean
yeah.
in real life?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the... yeah, I don't know if they managed to benefit hugely from the safety cars, but even if they didn't, a great performance from Force India to try and reclaim that best of the rest.
I think
tag.
that possible crash was one of the scariest almost crashes I've seen for ages in Formula One.
Yeah.
Which one was that? Sorry.
Perez.
The
Oh yeah,
Perez
yeah,
with
the
the
Perez
Williams,
across the
'cause
front of the Williams.
Formula One cars aren't designed for head-on impacts with each other, and they're certainly not designed to have one sliding across, wiping you out that way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because the crash test done on the back of the car.
Yeah.
And
and on the side of the
I mean,
cockpit.
that's like if you talk that when you look at the incidents that the cars are tested in, there'll be situations that the cars aren't tested in because it's like 1 in 100,000 chance of that accident happening. That was
Yeah.
easy.
Sliding across each other nose to
That's
nose will be
easy. A
something they
1
don't
in
test.
100,000 chance. Yeah.
But as we say, the recovery drive from Perez, I think he's ready for a bigger team.
I disagree.
I don't know if he'll be in that team next year.
I think he's got a ceiling. As a good mid-grade podium scorer.
Yeah.
I think he's ready for a number 2 role.
Who with?
I think you're right. I agree with you that he's ready for it, but I don't think there is a number 2 slot at a big team available.
I think the problem is not the fact that there isn't a number 2 slot available at a team, is the fact that there's better options. And it doesn't seem thankfully actually, because when you look at Finnish fucker Bottas, yeah, being under pressure, to perform, and clearly being under pressure at the beginning of the year, the philosophy of giving somebody a Massa or a Barrichello seems to have disappeared. Like Red Bull want 2 competitive drivers.
Yeah.
Mercedes want 2 competitive drivers. Kimi, years ago, Kimi would be fucking perfect for Ferrari right now. He's just slower than Vettel most of the time.
Yeah.
That's exactly where they want someone. Yeah, he's going to be replaced probably after the best year, or he's in the middle of the best year since his comeback, for a faster driver.
points to races wise, he's actually having the best season of his career.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And finishing positions to
Yeah,
number
yeah.
of races.
But yeah, like I say, that's why I don't think there's a number 2 place for Perez, because there doesn't seem to be number 2s anymore. Number 2As.
Driver 1 and driver A, like
Yeah.
there was a Ferrari.
I don't know. I think there definitely is with Sauber.
So yeah, they've got 2 cars. But yeah, usually there's two bit drivers, but it's not really like number 1 and number 2, is it? It's just one's miles better.
Well, it's one driver and one guy who's bankrolling it.
Yeah.
But they don't need the money anymore. Haas next.
Talking of driver teams with a
Talking
number
of a
1 and a number 2.
number 2 driver.
Yeah, number 2 is something you could call Grosjean.
Definitely. So we'll start positive and we'll start talking about K-Man, because we got an email this week saying, "Hi, Haas haters."
No, we don't hate
No,
Haas
We
at
do
all.
not,
no.
and I refute that
Whoa.
completely. I didn't answer it because I wanted us to answer it on here. We do not hate Haas.
No, not at all.
I'm really impressed with what they've done as a team over
Yeah.
the first couple of years.
They
I don't like Magnussen,
they have
but
built
that's as a human being, not as a racer.
they've built the car. Well, they built the car up
Dan doesn't
from
like someone.
brand new on the grid to what is possibly the 4th fastest car out there.
Yeah, best of the rest, which is...
They are best of the rest, in spite of one of their drivers pranging it constantly.
Yeah.
Magnussen is a better driver now than he was when he was at McLaren.
He's a better driver
no.
now than he was last year.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Magnussen, we ripped Magnussen last year. We were and Grosjean, get them both out of that car.
I still think
Magnussen's rebuilt his reputation this year. Magnussen's been very, very good. They've given him a good car, and he's putting good results.
Last year, he was good, apart from half the races when he just was nowhere.
Yeah.
He was inconsistent.
He's
Yeah.
still inconsistent this year, though. He still has off races.
He does, but now it's the difference between 8th and 4th.
Yeah.
Whereas it was the difference between 18th and 4th.
Yeah.
18th and 14th.
Yeah.
I still think that the Haas should be looking more at the type of lineup that Renault's got. That car's better than
the drivers.
Yeah.
Roman and Magnussen.
Yeah. Although performance on this year alone, I'd give Magnussen another year.
Maybe. I think.
And I bring somebody in, if maybe Kimi becomes available or something like
Kimi
that.
would be a good shout.
Charles Leclerc.
Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, Charles Leclerc would be an excellent shout. if
Checo
Kimi doesn't
Perez,
go anywhere.
perhaps. We were just talking about them. That would be a good shout.
To be perfectly honest, I know because I know we ripped the back out of this guy as well, but I don't think Danny Kvyat would have been a bad shout for them either when he was falling out of Formula One.
No, I don't think he'd be a bad shout now because I think was it last week's podcast. I was just like Danny Kvyat's still only 24.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he would be the right choice for Haas. On his day, he was pretty quick and a solid upper mid-grid driver, say. But he was never consistent.
The problem was the crashing when he kept crashing into the back of Vettel. But I'd still say that even up until he was sacked, he looked like a better driver than Magnussen and Grosjean. He just did the crashing.
His spirit was broken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how many times have we seen that? There's another good
We're
one.
on the way to Roman Grosjean's
Well,
spirit
if I
being
look
broken.
at Red Bull Junior page again, it's probably more than the 75 that it was last
Jean-Eric
time I
Verne
looked at.
would have been a good shout for them when they were looking for drivers.
Yep.
Sam Bird would have been a good, at that point when he was trying to make his way into Formula One. There's plenty of drivers out there that could have had another chance in Formula One.
Well, judging by Gunter Steiner's comments, I think they're going to be looking for somebody to replace Grosjean next year if he carries on the way he does. He's basically he ripped the back out of Grosjean without mentioning him by name. Talking about losing points, putting themselves in bad positions. Thinly veiled comments, all aimed at Grosjean for his crashiness.
Yeah, that message is pretty much slow down and finish the races. Don't push so hard.
It's better to finish in 10th than on a
Yeah.
truck.
But he wouldn't finish in 10th, would he? We've seen this so many times with Grosjean that if he's not fast and crashing, then he's fucking 18th.
Yeah, but it can crash behind a safety car.
Okay, well, he can crash anywhere. I never have I doubted
He
his
has
crashing
the best
ability.
crashes.
So I don't fucking know. I like them. I think I like Haas. I think they're the new Williams at the minute, but I think they've got the same problem that I said about Williams when Williams were fourth in were like up there in the championship when the hybrid engine first came in. That sooner or later they're going to have a Renault snapping at their heels more. Who knows? The Honda might take fucking the Honda will either have Red Bull well down the road for them, or it'll take them out of the fucking fight. It'll go one way or the other. But I think you've got cars behind them which have got more resources and more money, and they're going to come back at them. So next year's a big year for Haas.
No, it depends, because this year's Ferrari's pretty good, so next year's Haas should be.
Yeah, but that doesn't seem to be what's happening, does it?
No, but it's a good
No,
one.
because Sauber will get that car.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. What do we got next? Red Bull. Verstappen DNF'd with a brake failure this time.
Was it brakes? Was he stuck in a gear?
The team said brakes, but I'm sure he said he was stuck in third.
I thought he said he was stuck in third, which is why he started coasting because he couldn't get out.
'Cause he
of
couldn't get
third
out of
gear.
third.
Sounds
gear.
hydraulic-y, doesn't it?
Yeah,
If there's brakes and gear issues.
but either way, they didn't finish.
No, but I mean, for me, Max Verstappen produced the best overtake of the race, which was I've lost the position to Raikkonen, but if I hang this out round the outside,
Yeah,
I'm gonna get a better line coming out of the corner, 2 corners up the road, and I can have him into the next corner. And
That-
he did, and it was amazing.
That
I think there
reminds-
was another good overtake in the race, which we'll come to later, but that was the best bit of racing of the race. Easily.
That overtake from Verstappen, that actually reminded me of Jacques Villeneuve at Estoril in '97 when he passed, I can't remember who it was, it might even have been Schumacher, rammed the outside of the long turn. They asked him after the race how he did it, and he said, I set my car up like an Indy car because I wanted to take a wide corner.
Wow.
All right, fair enough. It reminded me
It'll
of.
be on YouTube. Have a look at it, because you just see Villeneuve coming from some ridiculous place, wide on the outside. It was a long sweeping right-hander.
Yeah.
And
The last corner at
yeah,
Estoril.
he's just taking this hugely long line, and he just breezes past.
Yeah.
There's a man that deserves more than one world championship.
Yeah.
I wish they'd been able to give him the car to win a second one the year after he won his first.
Yeah.
Well, he had the car. It's,
No, because Mika Hakkinen would have one less then, and I'm not happy with that.
Ooh.
Oh, I don't know what to choose, I think I'd rather Jack have one extra.
Mika Hakkinen's one of my favourite drivers, if not my favourite driver.
Got it.
Yeah, but we didn't do the Trinity.
Villeneuve wins in '98. Hakkinen wins '99 and 2000. Just takes one away from Schumacher because he's got enough to spare.
Yeah, I'll do.
How about that?
Yeah, go on then.
Where were we? Yeah, Danny Rick massively frustrated with the lack of power in the car.
Well, yeah,
and
because
not able to keep up.
he should have been able to pass Bottas in the latter stages with those awful tyres that Valtteri had on his car. But when the Mercedes got on the straights, it just had that ridiculous amount of horsepower.
No, but it wasn't just Mercedes. Like compared to Ferrari as well. Who knows? I didn't really see a Honda and a Renault together. But the Renault just had no bollocks to it, did it?
No, as soon as it got halfway down the straight, it lost it.
It was fuck. It was like
Christian Horner said that Ferrari had an insane speed and power advantage.
But it was like what? But the Renault this weekend was like watching a Honda 2 years ago in the back of a McLaren. As soon as they were on a straight, they just couldn't defend.
Yeah.
They were just nailed by whoever was behind them.
Look how easily Hamilton passed Hulkenberg
Yeah.
when he was sliding his way up through the field.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, Hamilton's just kind of inside DRS. Oh no, wait, no, he's passed.
Hamilton's 2 seconds ahead now.
Yeah.
Max Verstappen reckons that the Red Bull was going the same speed as the Mercedes with its DRS open.
Wow. That tells you something, doesn't it? DRS is supposed to be worth, what, 20 to 30 kilometres an hour?
Something like
About that, yeah.
That's a lot to throw away.
The Renault engine did not have it.
But they just came from a power circuit. That's what, so it must be something to do with energy recovery.
Both
that-
Ferrari and Mercedes have an upgrade as well. Don't forget
You
that.
do. I think you might have hit the nail on the head
Battery
there because
deployment.
yeah, Silverstone is the second most percentage
80%
wise
throttle.
where you're at full throttle. And of course, the energy recovery comes from braking
Yeah.
and lifting and
And
coasting.
there's no heavy braking zones, is there?
Not really, no.
no.
So if you can't generate the energy to put it into the battery to give you the extra, was it 150 horsepower boost that the hybrid system gives?
The MG UK.
Yeah. So if you're 50 or 60 horsepower down, that's going to be a sizable chunk.
Yeah, you're right. The heaviest braking zone around Silverstone must be the left-hander before you go into around the left-hander that takes you onto the Hanger Straight.
Yeah.
That's one decent braking zone.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I think the end of the Wellington Straight, maybe, possibly.
Yes, yeah, because you're going downhill, aren't you? Yeah, that's a heavy braking zone, and then like the little chicane thing into that. Yeah, so there's 3 in.
So maybe this new all-conquering,
heavy braking
all-power...
there, is it?
No,
Yeah, the new all-conquering, all-powerful Renault MG UK, which is meant to generate all the power from the braking zones, needs more braking zones.
Needs more power.
Yeah.
it doesn't look good though, does it? For the Renault powered cars and where Renault want to be, if this was the upgrade where they were touting it as this was going to give them, like, put them up there with Mercedes.
I mean, look at the tracks you've got coming up as well. You got Germany. Okay, fine, fair enough. That's not like it's Nürburgring, isn't it? So it's not particularly power hungry. And then
No, it's Hockenheim this year.
Is it Hockenheim? Is
Yeah.
it? Sorry. And then you've got Hockenheim's quite power hungry, even the shorter version of it. And then Budapest, which is that's going to be Red Bull's best chance of another win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but Hungary is it's just going to be a free for all because anyone can do well there.
And then look after that, you've got Belgium at Spa, Monza. Then you go Singapore, but then you got Russia, which is quite heavy on the power, but does have some pretty heavy braking zones. Suzuka, Austin. It's not really going to bode well in the second half of the season for Red Bull.
You know what? I think there's a definite chance here of Haas being the third best car in Monza.
Maybe we'll see. 'Cause there's heavy braking zones at Monza, but I mean they're not. Yeah, all right, you are on the throttle an awful lot, but you're under heavy braking more often at Monza than you are at Silverstone.
I just think with what Ferrari may have coming in the pipeline, because they're gonna want to have the best engine at Monza in all 6 of their powered
they will
cars.
have an upgrade for Monza without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, and don't know what more Renault have got to give, but yeah, we could see Haas troubling for a podium if there's the right amount of shenanigans.
Oh, I still think.
If Mercedes wipe themselves out.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If there's shenanigans.
But I'll tell you what, though, you are right about Ferrari wanting to bring something, because when you think, what was the last year Ferrari went to Monza, where they thought they might, they could actually match Mercedes for pace. Or match whoever the second fastest team is.
Well,
for
when
pace.
Alonso and Vettel had that battle in 2012, was it? When Vettel ran the outside of Alonso pretty much on the grass?
Yeah, 2011,
2012, yeah.
2011 Alonso won, didn't he?
Yeah, there wasn't a hybrid in the car when that happened.
Yeah.
No.
So, be interesting.
That brings us to Mercedes next, actually. Lewis has retracted his comments, and apparently Toto has as well.
Yeah. Apparently you say dumb shit sometimes, according to Lewis.
Heat of the moment.
Yeah.
Obviously listening to early 80s stadium rock.
Yeah.
Let's not be too harsh on Lewis. As a recovery drive, it was up there with one of the best, if not the best recovery drive I've seen. Vettel in Abu Dhabi,
When he got turned around at the start.
and Brazil. Yeah, Brazil. Brazil was, I think it was the following year. When he got turned around by Bruno Senna right at the start and was steering to avoid the cars coming towards him. That was very special. So 2 Vettel brilliant recovery drives. I think this Hamilton recovery drive was up there with them at least, if not better. It was very, very good recovery drive to get spun around and be practically last, but for Perez, and then siling his way through the field, catching up to the back of the field, and then just carving them up. I think within a lap he was past both Williams. Okay, that's not anything to write home about.
Yeah.
But I think was it lap 15. He was sixth, back in the top six.
Yeah. It was,
It didn't take that long at all.
I don't care what I mean.
We had a conversation with Luke Nipper, didn't we, on Twitter, and he was saying this is the turning point in the championship. It's it's. I was like,
Didn't seem to be, did it?
No. And Lee's response was Hamilton can still win this race, and then my response was he'll need some help, but it's not out of the question.
Right,
After the last few laps, it wasn't out of the question.
Lap 6, Hamilton was in the points.
Yeah.
Lap 10, he was 5th.
I don't care what car advantage you've got there. That's a good drive.
Yeah. Murrayism catching is one thing, passing's another.
Yeah, and we've how often have we said about the Mercedes not being able to follow things? Could follow stuff there.
I do suspect that they've changed that this year.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that was part of the divaness.
I think we were kind of robbed, but only by accident, because we might have even had we were robbed a really good race for a kickoff. We were definitely robbed a good race, because even with Hamilton being fourth, if he hadn't got wiped out by Raikkonen, I don't think he'd have stayed in fourth for too long before he was up there with Vettel. I think we would have had a really good race, because have you not noticed how something keeps happening? Like it would happen with Rosberg and Hamilton as well. We only got one really good race with Rosberg and Hamilton, didn't we?
Yeah.
But there was always
something.
would
One
happen.
of them gets a bad start,
or crashes, or
Yeah.
someone gets a bump, and it was the same here. It's a real shame.
You want to watch Vettel and Hamilton just go hammer and tongs,
and just
sort of.
fuck
I'm
off
guessing
with
Vettel's
everyone.
tongues.
Yeah,
Must be.
Tongue time, Sebastian. Tongue time.
That sounds wrong.
I mean, the big question: are we just going to do because of the way it ended, or are we just going to do them together?
Yeah, we can.
We may as well, because
What do we think about Kimi's tap on Hamilton at the beginning? Racing
Racing
incident?
incident.
total racing incident.
Yeah. Don't think nobody here thinks that Hamilton didn't leave Kimi enough room on the inside.
No, I think because if you looked on the onboard of it, did anyone see the onboard Anthony Davidson went
Yep,
through?
where you could see Hamilton leaning over and looking in the mirror.
Yeah. It was
He
brilliant.
was making sure that there was enough room to get a car through there if a car wanted to put itself there.
He left more room there than
he needed to.
than Grosjean and Sainz had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, he was offline. He was on a dirty part of the track, but he still managed to control it enough.
Yeah.
So racing incident, we're all saying, yeah.
Yeah.
It was it's one of those where
Just because it's
he
the
left him just enough room, but he locked up and they crashed.
Yeah, just because it's the second out of 3 races where a Ferrari hits a Mercedes off the start. It's not doesn't necessarily mean it's a conspiracy straight away.
No, but if he'd have left more room and Vettel would have got and Kimi would have got through, people would be shouting, "Oh, why do you leave the door open?"
Yeah.
But Kimi's not the guy either. It's if there's any driver on that grid which isn't going to purposely punt it into somebody to help his teammates, probably Kimi.
Kimi would purposely punt it into somebody to help himself.
I don't think he'd do that. I don't think he's got that sort of thing in him, to be fair.
I think the penalty for Kimi was a bit harsh.
I think it was reasonable.
I think it was reasonable, but I think it looks harsh because of how lax Vettel's penalty was.
Yeah.
But Vettel had already been kind of hit by losing a lot more positions.
Well, there's two ways of looking at this, and I was thinking like people turn around and say the big problem people got with penalties is Flood runs into me, Flood gets a 5-second penalty, but I've already dropped back. Flood goes in, does his pit stop, comes out 8th, and I'm still 14th.
Yeah.
This is the problem people have got.
Yeah, there's no recompense for the victim almost.
So,
But you can't really police that because then that's unfair on everybody else who
gained an advantage from an incident that they had nothing to do with.
Yeah.
but then the only other
who
option,
kept it clean.
Yeah.
so the only other option for this would be to take away time penalties.
And give time bonuses instead.
Yeah. So, you have.
Oh God, you know what, that would spice things up a bit. Time bonuses instead of 10-second time bonus for Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, 10 seconds off your race.
Yeah.
You're in 7th, But you've got traffic, so technically you're fourth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say was I don't stand by this. By the way, I think the system's right. But the only other thing you could do is give people a stop go penalty. But the stop go isn't timed, and the car is allowed to be released from the pit lane when the car they hit passes the start finish line.
But you're still giving the other people behind them an advantage.
Oh, you're giving them, but you are putting that car that hit that car behind it.
Yeah.
That's the only way I could see to change it.
That would work.
But it would destroy races because people could not fight back from that point. But saying that, it's if you wipe some out of a race, how do you police that?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah.
Sit in the pits until they fix the car and get it back out on the circuit.
It's I suppose it's a strange thing, Formula
Call it
One.
the naughty step penalty.
Yeah.
You've got to sit there and think about what you've done. When you see what you've done go past you, you can go.
Yeah, it's a strange thing Formula One's got because no other fans of any other sport ever have any problems with the refereeing of those sports.
Oh, no. We've been watching the World Cup with the video assistant referee.
They even chant the referee's a nice bloke, don't they?
Well,
The
which
referee's
team was
always
it?
correct and level-headed.
The referee's the winner.
Was it Australia who were chanting VAR after
After they got beaten by France.
they got beaten by France, but they were cheering outside the stadium VAR.
And Jack Villeneuve expected to collect a £12 million cheque for the year.
Vettel.
Great
Great
drive.
drive.
Great drive.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think his overtake on Bottas might have been the best of the race. It's
Don't know. It was a
definitely
good-
up there with...
Yeah, it was a good overtake.
Verstappen's.
It was coming though. It was coming for laps beforehand.
It was coming, but
Bottas was such a great
Yeah.
defending driver though. We've seen it before from Bottas. Doesn't lose his cool at all, does he? He just shuts the door, not in an aggressive way either. He just makes sure there's no way past for anyone who tries.
But do you not think he
tries
ran
it.
out of it? Do you not think he ran out of aggression and that's why Vettel got past him?
He ran out of
No, he ran
tyres.
out of tyres.
Yeah, but
He may have run out of tyres being defensive.
Having to defend that much, I think he just killed the tyres.
I've got an issue with Bottas's race. I think because of the way the race ended and his tyres going off, I think he looked better than he was because he didn't have an answer for Sebastian Vettel at all. And when we were saying there, within the 6 laps, Hamilton got himself through to the points, yeah?
Yeah.
Going through traffic, Lewis was quicker than Bottas in free air.
by 0.6 of a second, if I remember correctly.
Yes, but Lewis had the red mist down.
Yeah, but I don't care. That shouldn't be possible.
I think they told Lewis to turn the engine up.
Yeah, no, even so.
I don't think they did. I think he did it on his
Yeah,
own.
no,
Yeah.
even so,
I'll
I
leave
don't
it up
think
to you, I
that
think is what
shouldn't
Bono
be
said.
possible. You've got free air in front of you. You've got new tyres, which you've only just started the race, and you're trying to keep up with Sebastian Vettel in a Ferrari. You're trying to win the British Grand Prix.
And your
You're-
teammate is running 16th.
Yeah.
Is faster than you.
I think that Bottas that was it at Silverstone was the Bottas that doesn't deserve his drive again.
No, I don't agree with that at all.
He was too slow. He should it's Nico Rosberg would have been able to fight for that win. Bottas couldn't fight for the win.
No, that's fair enough. But look at his defensive driving when he was ahead of Vettel. That was top draw.
But look where it got him.
Defensive driving.
Look where it got him.
All right, okay, it got him second, but without defending, what was he supposed to do? Just like you said before, to let him through. And then we said, why did you leave the door open?
I personally think Vettel had that race. I think he had the car over Bottas to get past him when it was going to happen. And I think lots of the Bottas defending was Vettel putting his car in a place to make Bottas destroy his tyres.
Quite possibly.
I think
That's a
he was
tactic.
outthought.
That's a racing tactic as well.
Yeah.
You know, people do that all the time, try and force
But
other
it's not-
drivers
that's
into
not
mistakes.
That's not my issue. My issue is his pace. In free air, in second place.
Don't know what his strategy was either. He may have been told to sit 5 seconds behind Sebastian.
Why would that?
Because I mean,
happen?
it sort of fluctuated, didn't it, from sort of roughly 5 to 6 to 7, and then back to 6.
Yeah.
So it was around that gap quite a bit. So he did maintain a gap. It was just quite a big gap.
What were the pit stops as well? Because Hamilton came in. Did Hamilton come in after Bottas?
Oh yeah, a lot later. Hamilton came in like lap 25. Or
I thought there was only
26.
3 laps in. I thought Hamilton's laps with tyres were like 3 laps different to Bottas.
More than that, I think.
Bit more than that. I think when the safety car came out, Hamilton's tyres were 8 laps old and Bottas's 12, I think, which would make it 4 laps.
4 laps. So yeah, but I don't think 4 laps is the difference between Hamilton at the end of the race and Bottas at the end of the race.
21, Hamilton stopped on 25.
Right.
4 laps.
So that's what I mean, though. I don't think that time, as well, considering that for a lot of that, Bottas was in free air as well. He wasn't following people.
I think Lewis may have risked an engine blow up at a later race.
I think you're probably right, but what I'm trying to say is Lewis had, his tyres were 4 laps younger, but he still seemed to have tyres at the end of the race, where Bottas seemed
Because he
to be...
didn't have to defend as hard as Bottas was defending from Vettel.
Yeah, but even so, like Bottas was kind of defending like that. Surely one of the reasons he had to defend like that was because of his tyres were on their way out.
Don't forget as well, Vettel was on soft tyres.
Oh yeah.
Mercedes didn't have any fresh soft tyres for
that was
Hamilton
a
or
shame.
Bottas.
Yeah, that was a real shame.
Because if they pitted Hamilton and Bottas for soft tyres and all 4 of them were out on fresh softs for the last few laps of the race, that would have been a race to
I
watch.
wonder if they'd have bolted a set of softs on Hamilton.
If they'd had them,
If
they
they
probably
Had
would.
them, yeah, but they didn't have any new softs.
But can you not see an issue with Bottas's pace during that race?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I know what you're saying, but
It's difficult because they do base the strategy not just on one race, but on
Oh, I know, yeah.
making the engine last.
I think Bottas was,
So-
I agree with Dan. I think Bottas was managing a race as he was told to by his engineer.
and managing a season.
Yeah, and I think Hamilton was just like, right, no, strat mode party, and then like just went for it until he didn't have to.
I can't help think that Nico Rosberg would have finished, if not won the race, would have finished second. And that's...
You may very well be right, and it's just so hard to tell with the season-long strategies.
Yeah. It just seems, like I say, it'll be interesting now, right? Because I don't think I've been talking about how good Bottas has gone, and I still stand by that. But where he qualified, how far he was behind Lewis, where he was in the race, makes me think that maybe that seat isn't quite as nailed down for him.
Possibly, but another thing, Mercedes may, just thinking off the top of my head here, Mercedes may have asked Bottas not to push too hard, because if Bottas had gone quicker, Vettel would have gone quicker and been further away from Lewis.
Yeah. That's
So
something else to think about.
Don't push too hard so that Lewis can catch up.
Maybe, but I still...
Or it could be that he just didn't have it in him.
Yeah, I think from where Lewis was, because it was a safety car that put Lewis
On the tails.
on the
again,
tail to get there.
Yeah.
So Mercedes' job would have been to get Bottas ahead of Vettel. They'd have wanted him ahead of Vettel. Just even if we talk about
It was.
yeah, no, but I mean before that, before the pit stops. My problem isn't Bottas when he was ahead. My problem's not him being overtaken and losing the race. My problem is him not being able to hang with Vettel at the early stages of the
But
race.
we don't know if he was told that. That's what I'm saying. So, but all in all, a great drive from Vettel
Yeah.
to win the race.
Yeah, definitely.
And a wonderful recovery drive from Hamilton. A really good performance from Raikkonen.
Yep.
Yeah, you can't.
Apart from the crashing into Lewis Hamilton bit.
Yeah.
But that's what happens at starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fiver on Kimi for Spa.
So,
Hamilton
predictions, how did
was
we
the
do?
driver of the day. But
Oh,
who-
okay.
Who was ours? Because we said Hamilton in the blog room. With an honourable mention, I
Yeah.
seem to remember, for
Vettel, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't disagree with that, to be honest with you. I think prediction-wise, somebody in the room may have got all 9 points.
No, they didn't.
Did they not? I thought Lee went Hamilton. I thought Lee went Vettel, Hamilton, Raikkonen.
I can't remember what I went. Did not go
I
Hamilton.
have the predictions here.
Let me know.
But first, who are our heroes and villains? Hero. I'm actually going to go Hamilton for that recovery as well as being driver of the day.
But villain also for being a little baby about it at the end.
Yeah. I think, yeah, both hero and villain, just because he hit me. Oh, it's their tactics, which he's now come out and said, all right,
That's not right, yeah,
at the
yeah.
moment, I was stupid. It wasn't.
I'm not going to chastise them for it because all we say is that we want to see more human elements from drivers. None of us will ever have the adrenaline going through our bodies that he had at that moment when he finished that race.
No, that is true.
I don't think it's fair.
And the reason why he didn't stick around for the Parc Ferme interview, which he explained later, was I was knackered. I'd lost 3 kilograms during that race. Any chance I can actually get a drink?
Yeah.
Which, to be honest, I think these Parc Ferme interviews are wrong because I think you need a minute to clear your head and probably get some liquid into you. Because have you seen how much
Yeah.
water the driver's neck in the cool down?
I don't see the point. I don't see the point in the Parc Ferme interviews because they're going to get on the podium and they're going to get interviewed.
Well, they don't do the podium interviews anymore.
Oh, do they not?
No, Martin Brundle only interviewed Lewis on the podium because he wasn't there in Parc Ferme.
Well, that doesn't make sense. Surely the podium's the better thing to do because people can see it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Because that I think
totally agree.
now the rule is you get interviewed in Parc Ferme, you do the podium, you get whisked off to do the press conference, and then you've got to go and do the Will Buxton show.
the press conference that seems to be now the only thing the press conference is for the press for the Monday papers.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much.
Well,
what
yeah,
it's
but
for,
that used to be the interviews with the
Yeah,
drivers
yeah.
didn't it,
Yeah.
afterwards.
But the some people as well were asking if Lewis Hamilton was going to be. Oh, we've been invaded by a different Jensen. Jensen the podcat has just come in, and
Sorry,
Dan's getting rid of him.
Sorry, I didn't shut the door earlier properly, obviously, when I had my coughing fit. But anyway, you were saying?
Yeah, some people were asking if Lewis Hamilton was going to face a reprimand for not being interviewed in Parc Ferme and instead just being interviewed on the podium. I think Statman cleared it up for us. Sean Kelly, he said that the regulation states that a driver must be available after the podium for 1 hour 30 minutes for media commitments. Doesn't say anything about before the podium.
all right.
And to be honest, I think it was probably better interviewing the highest placed British driver, and let's face it, the most popular Formula One driver that Britain's seen in a hell of a long time, on the podium in front of the largest crowd, rather than having a
In a
microphone
garage,
stuck in his
yeah.
face where you can only see it on TV.
Yeah.
There's many thousands of people kicking around that circuit. They would
Yeah.
probably like to see Lewis being talked to if he's not going to get the chance to crowd
Yeah, yeah.
surf like he did last year. Then at least hear from the guy that a lot of people there have actually gone to see.
Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely. I don't see any issue with anything that happened there.
No. Another Formula One non-story.
Pretty much, it's and again, it's
So
another.
we've just spent 20 minutes talking about.
Yeah, but just to close it, it's another one of those Formula One stories that if it had been Kimi Räikkönen that had done it, it would be dead
what a
cool.
Kimi!
Yeah.
That is Kimi being
If it
Kimi.
would have been any other driver, no one would have cared.
Or Vettel maybe.
No, I still don't think anybody would have really bothered about it. But for every 3 Lewis Hamilton fans, there's like an ardent Lewis Hamilton hater there, and it's it's a bit old, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, but Lewis Hamilton generates ad revenue and clicks.
Oh, yeah.
That's why they make stories out of absolutely nothing.
Yeah, he's a polarizing character. I understand that, but yeah, I think it would just be nice though if someone decides to attack somebody like that. Let's not make it over an interview or some fucking earrings or a 30-second soundbite in a rubbish song.
Shall we do the predictions then?
Oh, go on then.
Right. We'll start with Chris. You had Hamilton, Raikkonen, and Ricciardo.
No.
2 points. Dan, Hamilton, Bottas and Vettel, 2 points. Lee, Ricciardo, Hamilton and Vettel, 4 points.
Ooh, I'll take it.
Me, Hamilton, Verstappen and Vettel, 2 points. This week's winner, Sean, Vettel, Hamilton, Verstappen, 6 points.
Very good. Well done, Sean.
I am still leading the prediction league with 29 points. Dan is on 27, Chris 24, Lee 22, Sean 21. It's getting a bit
It is.
Good,
It's getting
good
closer.
recovery drive
Getting
by
a bit
Sean there.
close. Yeah, Sean is completely Hamiltoning this. Right. News. Teams fighting over MGUH.
Yeah, it was supposed to be disappearing for 2021.
But
But Mercedes and Ferrari, and I think Renault as well, have turned around and gone like, oh, hang on a second. We lose our advantage in all the hard work we've put in since 2014 if we get rid of the MGUH. That means that anyone new could come into the sport and beat us, and we don't like that. So the possible reintroduction of the MGUH appears to be putting off potential new manufacturers, by which I mean power unit manufacturers like Porsche and Aston Martin, who have both turned around and said, if there's an MGUH, we're not interested. Which means the Formula One is going to stagnate and only have the same 4 power unit suppliers that it currently has, which I don't think is I don't think it's clever, and I think it's very poor move business-wise and sporting-wise.
I wish you'd stop pausing and looking at the screen with a worried expression, because I keep thinking, oh God, have we crashed again?
No, that was in the Patreon pod. I'm not looking at the screen. I'm looking up there at the sound tile. But yeah, I don't think it's very clever business-wise or sporting-wise to consolidate that the only 4. Lee's just done the exact same thing. Yeah, sporting-wise and business-wise, it's a very poor decision to only consolidate those 4 power unit suppliers that we currently have past 2021. Because if you don't integrate any new power unit suppliers for the next technical regulations update, then you're going to find yourself with a very stagnant sport, and I don't want to see that.
No. We could end up back in the position of, God, the 70s, where everything's running a Ford. Ferrari were running their own engine, and that was it.
Yeah.
It nearly became a spec engine series, and Ferrari were the oddities that they weren't buying DFVs.
Yeah. They were still running V12s.
Yeah.
When everybody else was running Cosworth V8s.
Whatever Ford told them they were running, basically.
Yeah.
Does this fix it? If you had, if you made a deal where, like the new Concord agreement, for instance, so you've got something binding that keeps people in the sport,
which comes in 2021.
Yeah. So let's just say, for instance, we have Ferrari. Engine manufacturers, yeah. Ferrari, Honda, Renault, Mercedes, Audi, Porsche. If they come in, was there anyone else that was rumoured?
Aston Martin, possibly.
Aston Martin.
Cosworth have been sniffing around the fringes and invited
Oh,
to
we'll go there.
manufacturers'
Right.
meetings
So
as well.
we've got all those.
Cosworth did build a 2014 power unit just to show that they could build them, but they said, look, cost-wise, we're going to have to charge this much for them. And I think the only team that were interested in it was Manor, until they realised that what the cost of them would be, and they went, actually, no, we're all right.
So you draw up the engine regulations, yeah?
Yeah.
And you then tell Honda and every other engine manufacturer they can send 2 or 3 key people in on the designing of these engines, and you have a coalition engine, which is literally the Formula One engine designed by every engine manufacturer that's signed up on the Concord agreement.
Nobody would do that.
No, I'm just saying, but
Yeah.
that would be a way to
it would
fix
fix it, but nobody would do it because why would Mercedes share technology with Honda?
Yeah, well,
Actually, more to the point, why would Ferrari share technology with
No,
Aston
but
Martin? They're going for the same customers in real life.
the idea wouldn't be because realistically all it would be is a gesture. The engine is already designed. The blueprints have been put down. Yeah, but there would be a gesture put forward that all the teams were getting together to build the fastest engine in the world. That's the way you'd spin it to the public. Then from that point, you just plug this like one for all engine into each car, and the teams have to go away and build their cars like normal Formula One cars.
It'd work, but you would not have a Ferrari racing with an engine that had any outside design on there
No,
whatsoever.
exactly. And I don't think Honda would have that either.
I
Well,
think-
Honda wouldn't accept any outside help when they were struggling 2 years ago.
Yeah.
No, but this is the thing. There'd be no outside help. It's literally just a gesture. That's all. That's something that would be spun to the media.
Yeah. What I'm saying is Honda wouldn't get involved with that, and neither would. I agree with Paul. Neither would Ferrari.
No, it would cheapen the name because, I mean, the Ferrari has a Ferrari-built,
Oh.
designed power unit in it.
I must state, like, this is just a completely theoretical
Oh, yeah,
situation.
yeah,
that I
of
don't
course.
think would ever happen.
Yeah. You know, it would be easier to herd cats while you were plotting fog.
Yeah, but it just seems to be like the advertising opportunity for that seems huge. Like to when they unveil the engine, and you would essentially have all the badges running down each side. You know, of like if say it was like a V, whatever, and you had all the badges of the various manufacturers that have gone into making this engine.
I think
Six different manufacturers,
Yeah.
one for each cylinder.
Yeah,
it'd look really good for Formula One, but for Ferrari, say, or for Audi, or for whoever else has their badge on the engine, I'm not sure the value would be there for them.
I think what they then have to push forward is the fact that because it's only now it's an engine spec thing that we're so involved with engines. But if Ferrari won the world championship, Ferrari'd won the world championship because they built the best car.
Yeah.
So it would still be the car. It just takes out this horrible engine advantage we've got.
I think the way we could get your idea there would be if they did it Formula E style, where Ferrari built the internal combustion engine and Renault built the MGUH.
Yeah.
And so it's not a team have designed the engine. It's Ferrari can say, we have built the fastest engine in the world.
Yeah, we've got the best battery. We've done the best gearbox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, trying to get the teams to all agree on the same thing is one thing. Trying to get the engine parts of those teams to agree on anything else.
What do you think the chances are? You know what you were saying before about all of a sudden Ferrari and Mercedes want to keep the MGUH. What do you think the chances are that this just keeps getting kicked down the road, down the road, and we end up with what we're getting next year in 2021?
If they drag things out long enough, then I reckon there could be an interim Concord agreement put in place for 2021, and the new engine regs are coming in 2022.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a little bit too late now to get the R&D work done for 2022. We'll just hold it off another year, and then before
This is where Formula One, as they are now, Ross Brawn, etc., need to put their feet down and say, this is what's happening.
put his foot down with an iron fist.
Yeah.
This is what's happening. This is the technical regulations as they're going to be in 2021. Get your cars ready, or we won't see you there.
We've approached Lamborghini about starting a team.
Yeah.
Didn't go so well last time.
Well, they were going to supply McLaren with engines, weren't they, in '93 after the Honda deal fell apart.
Yeah, and then they were crap.
Yeah.
Shall we have a total shunt?
Let's do that.
Let's.
So, who have you chosen this week? I mean, have you
whose
chosen?
question?
I'm just looking for password in.
And the sound of Lee typing is brought to you by...
Is it Fionn? Fionn?
Yeah, Fionn.
Fionn.
Yeah.
Theon.
Fionn Wilson. I think it's his first.
Has Formula Lead before?
Yes.
Has he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. I don't think he's total shunted before.
Right. Okay.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Yes, I
I
believe
think
so.
we are.
I'm a Formula 3 world champion.
Wrong start.
No.
Flashing yellow lights, please do another formation question.
Yeah. Start abandoned.
You're a Formula 3 world champion.
I was born in the 20th century.
That was, hang on, the second question is I was born. Okay.
I like the fact he's
technically
mixed up.
2000 or earlier.
Oh, don't get into that.
Because the millennium started in 2001.
Because
Something
there
like
wasn't
that,
a year
yeah.
zero.
Yeah, exactly. It's like people who like, oh, I'm celebrating my 30th year. It's like, no, you're not. If you turn 30, you're in your 31st year because you've completed 30 years.
I'm celebrating my 30th year. Happy 29th birthday.
Exactly.
It's what's known in computer science as an off by one error.
We have a quiz.
We do. Sorry, yeah. Right. So born in the 20th century.
As most Formula 3 champions would be.
Friend says cool, friend says fine. I've raised...
So he's somewhere between 18 and 118.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. I have
17.
Yeah.
I have
when his
raced in
birthday is.
Formula One.
To have raced in Formula One.
And
So
I would
probably
like
not 118.
And I would like a guess.
Formula 3 champion, I don't know, Jenson Button, British Formula 3 champion.
Not world champions. You have Formula 3 world.
I will
champion.
clarify that this says Formula 3 champion.
Ah.
Right.
So, JB, British Formula 3 in 99?
Yeah, but I mean, he was definitely born in the 20th century.
I was going to say born in
Yeah.
the 20th century
Yeah.
as well. Yeah,
That'll do for now.
won the F3 title in the 20th century.
I like the fact that this might be like, I don't know, 64% of Formula One drivers.
Jensen Button, then, yeah.
We'll say Jenson Button just to keep Lee happy.
I have raced against successful Ferrari duo Schumacher and Barrichello.
Jensen Button did that.
Yes.
So did Martin Brundle.
I was not born in Europe.
Unlike Martin Brundle.
Oh, hang on. Are we talking? Because some people now believe that post Brexit, Britain is not.
Oh,
part
don't
of
know. We haven't had Brexit yet. That question is not out of date for at least another 8 months.
I'm tired of explaining to people I don't know on the internet that Britain's leaving the European Union, but will always be part of Europe as the continent.
Until someone gets a great big digger.
I was not born in Europe, so we're looking at somebody from the rest of the world.
Very perceptive. I think we are probably looking at somewhere in the South American region.
Or possibly Japan, Asia.
I just thought, do you think Nigel Farage wanted to blow up the Channel Tunnel because he thought that's what kept us hanging in?
Maybe. I don't think Nigel Farage ever said that just for legal purposes. Anyway,
You don't need to guess now, right? This
No,
minute, do
next
you?
one.
No,
No,
next
no.
clue. Next clue.
I missed out on the Formula Renault 3.5 title.
where was Kevin Magnussen actually born?
Sorry, I'll give you another one. There's a little bit at the bottom I didn't see. It's not going to help you. By just 2 points in my debut year. Carry on.
I was gonna say, I could name lots of people that didn't win Formula Renault 3.5.
Me.
Yes.
Didn't Magnussen famously miss out on the world title just before he was signed up by McLaren?
I just thought K-Mag was Danish born and in West Copenhagen, born and raised.
Does Barrichello have a son?
Rubinho.
Yeah, but
Yeah. Is he a racer?
he wasn't born in the 20th century.
He wasn't, but someone who races against him could be.
It just said raced against Barrichello and Schumacher.
Yeah,
could
I'm
be
wondering if Mick
Schumacher
Schumacher
and
and Rubinho Barrichello, could we be looking at Lance Stroll?
I would like to clarify that question you're talking about said, I have raced against successful Ferrari duo Schumacher and Barrichello. So I, as the quizmaster, am reading that as the Michael and the Barrichello. But you can do with whatever you want. I don't know if I'm right. That's how I'm reading it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you're correct. Jacques Villeneuve again?
No, because he.
Oh no, he didn't come through Formula 3.
Yeah.
He did Italian Formula 3 and he wasn't very good at it, if I remember the total shunt that I wrote while you were on holiday.
Gonna hurry you for a guess.
I reckon Lance Stroll, possibly.
Because it's a trick question somehow that we've not worked out yet.
Yeah.
Lance Stroll.
Yeah, we'll say Lance Stroll.
We locking Lance Stroll in? Need to lock him in something.
Locking him in like a Williams contract.
Pay to get in, pay to get out.
Oh. Ooh. I tested an F1 car 2 years before my competitive debut.
Lance Stroll did that.
Lots of people did that.
Alfonso Celis Jr.
Has
will
never-
do
Yeah.
that if he gets to make an F1 debut this year.
In the junior series, I've once partnered John Eric Verne.
What year did Schumacher and Barrichello stop racing together?
Was there a crossover between... There wasn't, was there? Between Barrichello continuing and Schumacher returning? Because Schumacher came back in 2010 and Barrichello didn't find a seat after Brawn in 2009.
I thought he was at Williams.
He went to Williams.
Yeah.
after
Go
Brawn.
to Williams.
Yeah.
Because don't forget, Michael Schumacher tried to kill him.
Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah, Michael Schumacher did try and kill him against the wall in Hungary.
I'm wondering
Yes.
about maybe Ricciardo.
Daniel Ricciardo, possibly.
Could be.
Could be Ricciardo. Could be Max Verstappen. No, couldn't be Max Verstappen. Would never have raced against Schumacher and Barrichello.
Wouldn't have thought so.
Danny Ricciardo did the 2000, was it 2010 or 2011 British Grand Prix that Danny Ricciardo started driving for HRT?
Did he test for someone a couple of years before that?
Possibly.
Could well have been in a Red Bull.
I'm going to say,
More
yeah,
clues.
that's a wonderful, wonderful guess there, Dan.
I'm a Formula One winner.
So it's not Lance Stroll.
It could be Danny
It
Ricciardo.
could be Danny Rick.
Question 10. I was brought up 20 kilometres I was brought up 20 kilometres from the writer of these questions.
Who was the writer of these questions?
Finn Wilson.
Is he from Perth in Western Australia?
Without looking back at the emails to see what time he sent his Formula Lee entries in, if he's making a rough deduction about GMT plus 10.
If he's from Perth or Coburn or Fremantle, then yes, he's probably...
I'm guessing we're not looking for a South American driver anymore.
You don't get a lot of Wilsons in Uruguay.
That's not actually true. You get a lot of people with British surnames in South America. A lot, because a lot of people stayed there after the Second World War.
If anyone's got access to the Montevideo phone book, can you just have a look and see how many Wilsons are actually...
And don't forget...
And lots of McNamaras and McLeans
Well, don't
and
forget the word.
McDonald's.
There was that sticky point where Britain owned most of it.
I don't think Britain ever owned Uruguay. May have been slightly a bit more Spanish. I reckon you've got it with Danny Rick.
I think it could be Danny Rick.
Ask the question.
Do we have to ask it now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
we've got
question
that
10.
far.
Yeah.
Are you Daniel Ricciardo?
I'm Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Good work, Dan.
Nice one, Dan, and nice one, Finn.
Yes,
From
thank
Perth.
you for that. From or near the surrounding areas.
From 20
Yeah.
kilometres from Perth.
Yeah, he'll know.
Also, from the 24th of August, 2017.
Oh wow, so that's a while ago then.
Yeah.
You're dragging him out of the archives in this one. That was round about a week after the last one was sent in.
So if he's listening to this, and I hope he is, he'll know about when Danny Ricciardo was talking about hanging out at Garbo when he was a kid. Garbo being Garden City, the massive shopping mall in Perth. Well,
Not
for some
hanging out
reason-
with Robert Mugabe.
No,
right.
Garbo.
One night we were watching one of these bloody hell aren't people who steal cars stupid shows, and they had somebody driving a car through that. Sian was talking about it because her family are from Perth as well.
Yeah.
And she was saying, oh yeah, right, just watch, there's a McDonald's coming up on the right, and there it was.
Yeah.
Right, we better do Formula Lee. the last of the Formula Lee triple headers.
Of which I have participated in 0.
I get a Monday night back next week, so I want to sit down and work out the times before I come round here to do the podcast. This was Silverstone in the wet in the Mercedes. 38 entries this week at time of going to press. I don't think I've missed any. Out of the 3 of us in the room, I'm afraid to say 3 of us in the room that took part, Dan came 3rd.
That's not a surprise.
It's also better than I did.
I did bad.
To finish third you have to start.
Yes.
Or something.
Dan came 3rd, 37th out of 38.
Whoopsie.
But at least you were in the top 30,000 in the world this week, so your time actually got registered. Lee, you came 24th overall, and I came 22nd.
We were close.
We're a little bit further away by 7 o'clock because I got a couple more laps in at about quarter.
Did
So,
you? Yeah. I got a couple in last night, and I didn't do any others.
I ended up about 0.4 up on you in the end because I saw your time. I thought, oh, that's annoyingly close to mine, and he might have another
I
go.
meant to, because I used somebody else's setup, and then I meant to go back today and have a go with your setup to see if there was anything in that setup. I didn't get a chance.
The setup that I was using when I set the time that you saw was absolutely bloody terrible, and I changed it, and that's where I got an extra couple of tenths.
Was it?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I would just like to thank Ian Walker for the setup of his that I used that got me a better time. However, Ian Walker got a better time than me. So the top 20, we have Nick Patakis, Chris Charles.
Good effort, Nick.
Richard Frank, Patrick Daly, Ian Walker, whose setup I used. You were in 16th. Ken Lauderback, Freddie Brunner, Weitzer Camping, Nicholas Carline, Nick Richardson. On to the top 10, Travis Parker, Pete Bull. Thank you for the photos from Silverstone, by the way. They're on the website.
Thank you very much.
Ollie Vestley, Alberto Roldan, Alessandro Popolani, Carl Jarazek. Got it right this week. And Bradley Chambers in 4th. Top 3. Max Williams in 3rd with a 141.482.
Maximum Williams.
Will Coates in 2nd. Who has joined the Patreon as well. Should we give him a bonus 2nd? No. 141.286. And winning with... well, he's actually done a Will Coates job and destroyed everybody else with a time of 140.882. It's Chris Albee.
Well done, Chris. Good effort.
That was particularly spectacular time. So the next 2 weeks challenge, there isn't
A Germany.
a German circuit, but there is Sepang, which we're not using. So I reckon that's the track we should use.
Might as well.
Yeah.
Also, it only dawned on me the other day because we're not we're abandoning this game halfway through the season. It would be a shame not to use some of the classic cars before it goes away.
We can do that in the summer break.
Like we did over the winter, and we'll probably do over the summer break.
But we'll have a new game over the winter.
Not like we have already used over the winter.
Yeah.
But keep on using them again.
Yeah. So let's have. So what are we having? Sepang.
It's going to be Malaysia, yeah.
Well, yeah. We'll have Sepang with. Is it Damon Hills Williams is in there, isn't it? Is Damon Hills World Championship winning?
Yeah,
Williams?
I think so. The 96 Williams.
Yeah. Let's with the 96 Williams.
Okay, so wet or dry? We've just had a wet race.
Dry.
So Sepang in the dry in the 96 Williams.
Yeah.
That sounds good. And it's a 2-week challenge. So the cut-off time is going to be 7 o'clock UK time, 2 o'clock Eastern on Monday, the 23rd of July. Right, where are we? We've had an email. Let me just find it. Silverstone is finally here, but is diversity. Basically...
Who sent the email in?
This is from James McFarland.
Okay.
Basically, what is the situation with LGBT plus diversity in motor racing? Because it seems to be never even touched on. Does anyone have any experience of knowing anyone involved in racing that is in that community? If anyone is, are they made welcome? Are they made deliberately unwelcome, which they fucking shouldn't be?
No, of course not.
absolutely.
And what can be done to make people feel more included?
Yeah, I think we're pretty unqualified to talk about this being
For
a room of straight white
for
guys.
heterosexual
Yeah.
white men.
Yeah, basically. It's worth talking about though, because there are other sports that have charities, or not necessarily charities, but initiatives. Thank you. That's a good way of putting it. That sort of try and help people who maybe feel a little excluded in certain situations to help them to feel a bit more included. And there's no way that you should be excluded due to your your gender or your sexuality or anything like that, or race or anything. You are who you are, and you enjoy what you enjoy. And if there are any initiatives in motorsport that anybody knows of, or please send them our way.
Let us know your experiences, and
I mean, basically, what we want to do is just promote motorsport as something that
it's inclusive for everyone.
anyone can take part in. It doesn't actually matter who you are.
Exactly.
That's I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, with sport, how you still in 2018 where there's always that shock and awe if somebody comes out. There's always that thing. I don't understand quite why now.
Yeah.
It's you wouldn't have that same shock if it was a friend of yours, or or a friend of a friend, or somebody in a pub. So I don't
don't see why it should be weird for someone in motorsport to come out.
Or is it statistically one person on the grid is gay? Would that be it?
I think that's quite a sweeping.
It's a sweeping
generalization,
statistic.
but yeah, I mean,
but,
statistically speaking, I think that the ratio would mean that somebody on the grid would fall into that.
And in the paddock, then
in the paddock, people working in the garages and things. I mean, I just hope it's not an issue in that people feel like that that they can't talk about who they are, or even be who they are even in the paddock or in the garages, or
it shouldn't matter
just because
it shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned, people should be free to keep their private lives to themselves if they want to.
That's realistically, it's the same as the it's the same as what the conversation we've always had about females in Formula One. It kind of should be a non-argument.
It should be.
There shouldn't be anything really to talk about. If a woman gets to Formula One, then it's because she should have done it on talent. There should never be forced diversity, because people shouldn't care about diversity. It shouldn't be an argument. Do you know what I mean?
It should be all inclusive for everyone all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, the people that have the ability to get into a position in any sport.
Yep. But I mean, let's hear your experiences, from a fan's point of view as well. I mean, hopefully it's a positive experience, not negative ones. But send them in through to our email address.
Yeah,
and we'll see what we get for next week's show.
If you want to email on that topic, or basically on anything, or just want a shout out,
it would be
anything.
It would be interesting to get some viewpoints from people that are more qualified about this than we are. Yeah,
because we have an opinion, but we're not experienced in that particular walk of life. So,
as a white male lesbian, I've no idea.
And let's face it, the closest we get to actually being at regular motorsport events is if we open the window of the podcast room, we can hear the stock car track.
Apart from the fact that
the TT,
the world's biggest motorcycle event happens a half a mile.
Yeah, but I mean that's the regular sort of weekly motorsport that we get.
I suppose so. Yeah.
The TT happens once a year, and then you get the not quite as good version.
I like the classic.
Southern Hundred's on at the moment.
Oh yeah, that's starting this week, isn't it? I always forget that's a thing as well.
Anyway,
I know.
Right.
Yeah, keep forgetting about Southern.
If people want to get in touch with us, how do they do these
you
things?
You can email us 3legs4wheels@gmail.com. Thank you for bringing it back into the I was away in my own little world there, forgetting motorbike events exist. So yeah, email us 3legs4wheels@gmail.com. You can tweet us at 3legs4wheels, or
as always, I am at it all shunt.
Where you can send the DMs with your total shunts as well.
Yes, of course you can.
I am at Flood21.
I'm at Dan Dankleton.
And I'm at Pablo100. Look us up on Facebook, facebook.com/3legs4wheels. And also, if you want more of us, why would you want that? Mad folks.
There's enough of us to give anyway.
We also have the Patreon show. You can donate to our Patreon appeal, which basically all the money you send in keeps us going.
Yeah.
Pays the bills, buys the cables,
Buys the Coke.
A cola.
and the glasses and ice to go with it.
Yeah.
And of course the all-important podcast biscuits. If you go to patreon.com/3legs4wheels, you can sign up there as little as $1 a month.
Yeah, and thanks to those who are already patrons, because again, I know I say this every week, but you do keep us going.
Thanks especially to the new Patreons as well.
Who I am just bringing the details up of now.
Oh, sorry, did I preempt you?
No, Gmail's working really slowly tonight. Our new patrons that have signed up over the last week, we have Tim McGovern, Will Kurtz, Formula Lee regular,
Welcome, Will.
and Rob Curran, who've all signed up in the last week.
Amazing, thank you, Rob,
So-
as well. I mean, Rob's been around for a while as well. So.
Yeah, thanks to you three, and obviously thanks to Pete and Ryan for sending those photos in. I think he sent. Did I see? There's more photos to go on. Yeah, Ryan sent a load more photos. I'll be putting those on the website.
Excellent,
as
thank
well.
you very much, Ryan.
So preview of. Oh no, that's next week.
No preview for
No
change.
preview. No preview.
We could preview the preview.
No.
So on next week's show, we'll be talking about what we think is going to happen at the German Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time, as it is now.
Yep.
So what do we
Yes.
think we're going to be talking about? No, I can't do it. I'm sorry.
No.
McLaren.
Yeah, we'll be back next week. We'll have a preview of Germany and anything else that might actually happen in the next 7 days.
Careful now.
Well, all right. So I might have to record a drop in when all this massive news breaks tomorrow, and everything that we've talked about tonight becomes a moot point.
Let's let their ears go to bed.
Because you want to go to bed.
Yes.
I think we
With their ears.
You don't literally collect ears and put them in a bucket.
Oh, I want to go to bed. I want to go to bed with their ears.
10 bonus points to anyone apart from Dan who gets that reference. Tell you later.
Okey-dokey.
We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.